Amrita, welcome. I'm a 40 daughter, so I'm familiar with the kitchen in which you stood.
Wow. For Siddharth and for me, Alka ji was the source of all information. So when he had to play Ajay ji, he went to Alka ji. When I had to play Alka ji, I went to Alka ji. And we keep thinking that maybe both of them now live in one person. Stereotype of women or grieving women that we've seen are ones who melt into puddles, that background score and immense tragedy. Women are really not like that. I used to be a visual artist, graphic designer, illustrator. Then I went into theatre, I accidentally got into acting, I write, I'm also directing. So when I do all this, I feel like kahin na kahin to survive kar hi jaungi. There are some people who can abuse that place of power, right? That this person really wants to act in my film. I'm going to say this is a workshop for the film, and then end up, doing things that are frankly abusive, emotionally and otherwise.
What did they ask you to do?
Just a lot of things. I've been asked to close the gap in my teeth, pull your face up, and mostly men. There are contracts, I have seen contracts which says that the studio bosses, if they ask you to change something about your face, you have to do it. That we are at a place where laughing loudly is something you have to learn to do when you are growing up. Because normally it's like, "Arey, itna zor se kyun has diya? Arey, shaadi hai bhai, nahi hasungi kya?" It's so weird. Why were you like speaking so loudly? These are like micro everyday things.
Hello and welcome. We're breaking the rules, but what rules are we breaking? And with who today? Amrita, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic to watch you on screen.
Thank you.
Noticed you like how? Because you just merged and melted into the role. And I'm a 40 daughter, so I'm familiar with the kitchen in which you stood.
Wow, that's great.
What was it like doing a role that was decisively a role that breaks on screen?
That's pretty interesting, actually. So when I first met Alka ji, and I spent some time with her, and I'm trying to thinking that I have to approach it with so much gravitas and heaviness and all of that, right? But I found none of that in her. She was, obviously, it's been 25, 26 years, so obviously there's been time and she's become a different person now. But she's still very connected to that emotion. And I always thought that it needs to be played with heaviness. But when I spoke with Alka ji, I realized that he was a really fun person. And I think she wants to honor that memory by remaining a fun person. And in fact, that is it kind of flipped how I was approaching the role. Because I always felt that when we're telling the story of a martyr, right, we have to talk about the world that was most precious to him.
Yeah.
Which he gave up, right? In order for that to land, even story-wise, you need that world to be very enduring. You need that world to be very anchoring. And that means happiness. That means a pocket that he would come back to kind of be his former self, to be joyful. So all I thought was that I just need to make the home very anchoring and very loving so that the absence will hit hard. So that's kind of what I took away from it. And then as I like you said, she breaks on screen, there's these arcs. Like with every scene, Alka is moving one step ahead in her arc, there's always a progression happening.
Yeah.
Every time I try to do that, I would always keep that in mind, that, that she's a very evolved, very resilient person. She's not someone who's just going to, melt in a puddle of tears. She's not that person.
Yeah.
So if I can it's far more impactful if you don't cry, but try to stop yourself from crying than actually crying, Even when I connect with performances, people don't cry, but on the verge of it are always, for me,
and that's so central to a martyr's widow.
Yes.
Holding back.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
So when you were building this prep into this role, what were you telling yourself? Because, there is, like you said, there is a defined path. In India, if there is a wedding, there are tears, right? If there is happiness, there has to be a break in that joy.
Yes.
So how are you sort of picking the duality of this performance?
Because tears are an immediate release, right? But even when personal grief or something happens, after the tears comes a point where the pain kind of cements in you. Like it becomes this hard surface inside you where you're not really crying because the release has happened, but the grief is still kind of, you're growing around it, right? And that's the phase that she was in. And if you see footage of, even recently, if you see, there is always so much, unfortunately, footage broadcast about martyrs, partners at their funerals or at the service, right? And if you see those women, not one of them are breaking. It's almost like the honor is kind of passed on to them now. And I always say, like, for example, for Siddharth and for me, Alka ji was the source of all information. So when he had to play Ajay ji, he went to Alka ji. When I had to play Alka ji, I went to Alka ji. So our source material was the same. And we keep thinking that maybe both of them now live in one person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like, you can't copy someone's grief. You can't imitate that. You have to go into your own emotional pool and find it. But
is Amrita like that about grief?
I've learned to be a little bit, but not as much as her. I think I have a long way to go for that. I mean,
what does Amrita's grief look like?
It really looks a lot like, how do I say it? When I was going through like a very sad, tragic situation in my life, I think my grief was more, I started by escaping a lot of it. I would just drown myself in work or do things like that. And there was a lot of crying, but in private, all with like really close people. And then as and when it kind of evolved, I realized that, if I don't confront it, I will not do justice to the ones that are left behind. My immediate family who's around me, I will not be able to confront them or be there for them if I don't deal with this, So there was therapy, there was grief counseling, a lot of things so that, I can anchor it better. I definitely did not have the resilience and maturity that Alka ji did. She also did not have the options that a lot of us do today. The country didn't even know about her.
That's
to be
true.
honest.
That's
Yeah.
true. Do you think that women tend to do that? Escape because it feels like
Yeah.
you don't have to explain?
Yeah, I think women do that. I think women do that a lot also because the whole pressure of anchoring the house and anchoring life is on them. So they don't have the luxury. And it's quite sad because the stereotype of women or grieving women that we've seen are ones who melt into puddles, and who are just, and that background score and immense tragedy. Women are really not like that, I mean, we've all seen our grandparents or, the older generation, a lot of the women who were widowed early. I don't know, I think it's like a survival instinct that kicks in. And it's most definitely coming from the responsibility that she's like, no, I have to anchor this, I have to anchor my children, I have to still cook. A death happens in the family and next day people want breakfast, So when all of that is happening, when is she going to cry? And then I think that kind of channelizes it when the next generation says, it's okay to cry, it's okay to get therapy. No, we could do it. Why can't you? So I feel that's also a way in which patriarchy has kind of seeped into women's grief. It's actually, as I say it, I realize it. Yeah.
I realize it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a death in the family and the next day you have to make breakfast.
Yes.
That's how patriarchy is steeped into the system.
Yes.
Amazing. You sat across, across the table from a widow. What was the question that you were most scared to ask but had to ask?
About her child. Because Ankur was, I think, 6 years old or something when he lost his father. And she was saying that for many years after that, for almost over a decade after that, he did not speak about him at all. So I think I was a little scared bringing that up, and it was the only time when I felt she was still emotional, and it's the one that I thought that, but I need to know where he was and what he was. And Alka ji is, she's a very generous person, and I don't say this lightly. I mean, a lot of people are generous, but it's a lot to kind of admit your vulnerabilities 25 years down the line, right? She's a different person. She was this sheltered, housewife, very simple, in her own happy bubble, who now runs a petrol pump in Delhi. That transition must have been so crazy, and not a lot of people know this, but 6 months after Ajay ji's passing, Alka ji also lost her father. So at that point, it's not even been a year, and she loses her father. That transition that has kind of, for a lot of people, it makes them bitter, but her, it's made her very generous, So when I brought up this difficult question, the first thing she said is that, don't be uncomfortable. I also don't know what I have done, but I'm figuring it out. And that just put me at ease, and she kind of fully understood my need to know that answer. So as she was talking about it, I realized that it's difficult for her to go there. It really is, but she went there for me and for the show.
So, I always see these images that you said, sometimes of grief, sometimes of anger, sometimes of poise, or at funerals or martyrs. But, many countries, including ours, we're very good at garlanding a martyr's widow at the moment. But then we forget how she pays her electricity bills the next day.
Yes.
How was that conversation? How did you find the reality of Alka Ahuja while researching and spending time with her?
I think she personally had a government job offered. And then there was the offer of a petrol pump. And as she lost her father, she realized she took up, I think, the job first, and then she moved to running the petrol pump. And her father was the person who helped her transition it. The more I spoke to her, I think what I kind of figured out is that she was very aware. And in fact, Ajay ji apparently really pushed her to be independent when they were married. He pushed her to finish her BSc. He pushed her to finish her teacher's training. He pushed her to find a job, being a teacher in the army school. So she used to teach there. He had always prepared her to be very independent. So the moment this happened, her first narrative, completely in her head, no one is going to be there for me. But I have a child and I have to do this. So she was very prepped right from the beginning. She didn't have grand expectations. And it's almost like all the things she didn't get, she's kind of getting it now after the show, 25 years, but it's 25 years later, right?
Yeah.
At that point, I think she was very sure. So she told me that, Amrita, it's not just me, it's you and it's everyone. You need to really understand that this is how it is. Whether you're a martyr's wife or you're in, average middle class society, no one is going to come and cover your aces. No one's going to do that. So you might as well know that now.
So let's stay with Amrita now. Does Amrita have to most of the time figure it out? Or like, Alka ji said, she almost had a lesson in things that happen to women on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Is that how you navigate too?
I used to. I mean, planning has never worked for me because I always pick one career, then I move to the next and move to the next. That has happened to me a lot. So yes, I do figure it out. But I'm trying to go to a more mature version of figure it out. Not the unplanned one, but the one where I'm like, okay, you don't need to get anxious about it. It'll be fine. So there's that part which is like, oh, I'll figure it out, which is the lazy part. And then there's the part that says, I'll figure it out after you get so anxious.
What do you get anxious about?
I get anxious about a lot of things. If there's like 20 people coming home, I get anxious. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? If I have to wake up really super early for the flight, I get anxious. What do I do? What do I do? If I have like a deadline, all the normal things, I get anxious.
Are you anxious about failing, especially in the industry that you are?
Not particularly in the industry, because I have, because of the journey that I've had, I used to be a visual artist, graphic designer, illustrator. Then I went into theatre. I accidentally got into acting. I write. I'm also directing. So when I do all this, I feel like kahin na kahin to survive kar hi jaungi, But the empowering thing about doing these things is that you're not afraid to say no, because not all your bills are contingent on one thing. And the second thing is that you get your personal validation from other things, and that is something that I've had to train myself to do. Because when you're starting out as an actor, which for me wasn't really a conscious thing, I just kind of fell into acting, But even then, it's a very thin line between self-respect and vanity, right? And when you're constantly appreciated for something, you can very easily cross into that vanity category.
Yes.
And that is where I think you start slipping.
But that's where you are today.
I hope not. I hope
today,
not. I hope
I'm
not.
guessing that this role has spotlighted you into this, you know, it was
Yes,
very well
I
done,
did.
don't get me
Thank
wrong.
you.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, this is the acting role. This is
Yes,
the role
yes.
where your performance and your physical presence is bringing you accolades.
Yes.
That means that it has sort of pulled you outside into a pedestal, and now this pedestal is looking good. I don't know how long
Thank
it
you.
will. So I'm asking you, how are you prepping to stay there? Falling and failures are always the other side of the coin.
You know, it really helped me that I started acting when I was a little older. I wasn't vulnerable or naive.
What's
and
older?
I started acting at 29, you know, 12 years back. So it really helped me prep. So I can handle it better, I feel now. You know, if I'm getting a lot of attention, I can kind of, my inner monologues are healthier, you know, where I'm not dependent on a lot of things that I was dependent on when it comes to vanity or appearance, because I'm getting so much love. And I do feel 10 years back, I may not have handled it with as much, I would say, patience or the willingness to, you know, jump into the next adventure without carrying the baggage of this one. Right? I think it really helps when, and this is not really a judgment thing, this is just a personal observation, that if after finishing your education and after, you know, working somewhere and you come into acting, you're really grounded. So the rejection I've been rejected a lot, you know, or you know, all the unpleasant experiences, you are always a little more mature to handle it. Whereas if you are like really young and really naive, it's much easier to manipulate you. It is much easier to manipulate your inner voice. And I feel I have benefited from coming into this a bit late. Not to say I've not suffered or not had my, you know, I've not made mistakes. I have. But in that, I feel it really helped me that the older I get, the more accepting I become of this aspect without letting this aspect rule me, you know.
Yet.
Yet.
Okay. Let's just unpack a few things you said. You know, we talked about survival mode on one side. We also talked about rejection and suffering on the other. They're very deeply linked, you know, whether you're on the outside of the film industry through the arts and design and creativity, or whether you're within it as an actor, which is also a creative process. What were the rejections like? Talk to us about them.
See, for a lot of actors, especially when you're starting, a rejection is on the basis of appearance, right? Initially, I mean, they're like, no, your audition didn't work, or no, the look doesn't work. You don't need to audition because your look is not right. There have been times where I've been locked for something. I've shot for 2 days and then just dropped, you know. There have been times where without consent, a lot of abusive things happen in the guise of workshops. Some workshops are really good. Some workshops are great. There are some good people, but there are some people who can be a lot more, who can abuse that place of power, right? That this person really wants to act in my film. I'm going to say this is a workshop for the film, and then end up, you know, doing things that are frankly abusive, emotionally and otherwise. And I think that's always sold as a narrative, as in, you know, this is the struggle that you have to go through to be whatever, you know. Again, I would say it is always a struggle. Whether I go through it physically or emotionally, it is always a struggle. If I was trying to make my mark in any other profession that has the kind of rewards that performance and film industry gives, it is a struggle. Okay, I'm not denying that. And some workshops before films are a very good practice. But I do not want to glorify suffering. I do not want to glorify exhaustion. And that is a stand that I had to take often when a lot of the other co-actors would not. But they'd be like, you know, aur kahan mauka milega? This director's films have gone to so many festivals. I get it. Chances are so little.
What did they ask you to do?
I mean, there's just a lot of things. A lot of things. And not just me, the other women in the film too. And again, we just think that we are subjects in the hand of a king, you know, but we are not. And the more we choose to empower and educate ourselves, the more we will be able to say no. Sometimes it's a financial, economic requirement, And I get that. And I think that's a systemic thing that we need to solve by creating, whether something like a Writers Guild, the Screenwriters Association, or Actors Guild and things like that, where, people have to stand up, But there is a lot of emotional manipulation that happens. And to avoid that, I think the one way to do it is to really insist on paperwork, insist on reading about other processes, insist on seeing what other film communities are doing and support each other, when someone says no.
I'm just hearing loads of voices in my head which would probably say, that doesn't happen in the real world, Amrita. Paperwork is paperwork, but the real world is the real world.
No, it's not true.
I'm just wondering, because I hear this from so many people, like the way you said, there's a king and there are subjects. Have you ever encountered a situation where there was a queen and there were subjects?
Of course, king and queen are a state of the mind. It's irrespective of gender. I don't think that when we talk about patriarchy that it is only the male gender that propagates it. There are a lot of other genders also that, women and otherwise, who also, patriarchy is a narrative.
So women in leadership positions or in positions of power in the film industry are also as patriarchal as the men?
I won't put an umbrella thing. I won't generalize and say all of them are like that, but I've definitely met some who are like that. And there's some who are the absolute opposite and who are trying to change the narrative, for sure. But when I say patriarchy, when I say king, I'm talking about a state of the mind, And I feel that power can do to anyone. I don't know, I hope to not become like that if and when I get the opportunity. But patriarchy has become a state of mind.
Yeah.
I've seen an 8-year-old kid being patriarchal. I've seen women being patriarchal. I've seen, men, of course, be patriarchal. So I feel the psychology is that if you're in a position of power, others are not just answerable, but they are there to serve you, right? And that hierarchy is a problem.
Yeah. You did talk about there could be economic challenges. There could be economic sufferance because of which people accept anything that happens.
Yes.
What is the worst you've had to let pass because of money?
Performance-wise, I've not had to do that, thankfully, because I had other things going on. So I have never had to, I've walked out of those situations. I've had the privilege and the ability and the support to say no. But when I'm talking about other professions, sometimes whether in the capacity of a creator or something, abuse, what it does to you, I'm not just talking about physical or emotional abuse. I'm just saying that abuse, what it fundamentally does is that it attacks a core version that you have built of your identity, right? It says, no, that thing that you've built for 10 years, I'm going to throw that out of the window, right? So you're like, but I built it for so long, don't do that to me, And that has happened a few times. And then you feel like, I have given 7 years to this, not for one person to just walk in and throw it out of the window. So at that time, I've had to let go of things that I have created, things that I've worked on for years, just give it to somebody else and walk out. And for me, that was a very big, that did hurt a lot. And I'm sure people go through much worse. So I don't want to just say that, oh, this is the worst. But in my experience, that felt really, really bad. Because everything that I have worked towards, or everything that I would say my parents have worked so hard to educate and give me these privileges and support, all of that was being questioned. The intention that I have been brought up on was being questioned. And all the work I did for 6-7 years was being questioned. That did hurt a lot, because you have to just, how do you motivate yourself to go out there and create something else again? It's a very exhausting process.
Yeah. One of the things that has sat with many industries, but particularly with the film industry, has been women who speak their mind, like we are right now. Have you had the fear of speaking your mind and sort of being pretty on point with your views about things?
Yeah, initially I used to be a little afraid. I used to wonder, oh, this will cost me things. But as you move on, you're like, what's going to cost you is anyway going to cost you. If not like this, then like that, you know. And I would say community has really helped me in that. Like-minded women who speak the mind, like-minded women who are saying, "Tu bolna tujhe jo bolna hai, hum hai yahan pe." I think community is a very big part of being able to speak your mind. It's a very big part. I don't think I would have had this kind of confidence. And it's not like I'm speaking my mind all the time. I think we're all tailoring ourselves off and on. But I think the ability to do that is very contingent on the community you find yourself with.
Let me flip the question. Sometimes is there too much pressure to have to speak when you really don't feel like?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. Sometimes when you feel like, no, it's okay. I don't need to make a battle out of everything. I don't need to hoist my flag on every mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to be quiet. Picking your battles is a wise thing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. I want to go back to a few roles. I haven't watched most of your stuff. This is one of the, Safed Sagar.
Very little.
Yeah, but I do notice that there's been a pattern in them from whatever I've been able to gather in my research, that at various points the characters that you've played is faltering, rebuilding, crumbling, rebuilding, breaking up, rebuilding, or sometimes just letting it be. Has there been sort of an intent behind choices of those characters, or?
No, in fact, the initial choices is at a time when you're just waiting for a good opportunity to come. So it's not like I had a lot of options to slim pickings, right? So, so initially, but I think a lot of the work came from people who knew me or who had seen me somewhere. So maybe it's an association that was made. And I'm very happy because they're all like active participants in this story. You know, they're all people who move the plot forward. Like you take them out and the plot won't move forward. So I've been really lucky that way. Initially, I didn't have the privilege to kind of choose, because you're like, oh, I'm actually getting selected. Like that was the thing, like to get the job, you know. But yeah, the pattern's kind of been accidental, but I'm very grateful for it.
Do you think 12 years is about what it takes to get somewhere in this world of acting? Well, I mean, I'm sure people who are earlier in their journey, who are watching this, or potential actors who are watching this, it's going to take 12 years to land up a role that may finally give you some attention. I mean, that's not small, yeah?
No, I feel like it's really different with each people, you know. And it also depends on who you are and what your choices are and what are you willing to be flexible about, or the path you want to take. I think it also took me longer because it is not the only thing I was doing. But for a lot of people, if it's the only thing you're actively chasing, it can happen very quickly. I mean, Abhay is a great example of that. Abhay Verma, who's in the show, he's such a spectacular actor, really young. Even Mihir, Arnav, Taruk, all these boys, you know.
Yeah.
They're really young. So it depends. I mean, it's such a cliche, but luck is such a key factor here. Apart from everything you do and the meetings and the hustling and looking for work and really working on your craft and all of that. I mean, luck is that extra thing. It's the only profession. See, like in any other profession, right? If you have a car, a house, you're well settled in life and you have food on the table, you're considered successful, right? Any other profession. नहीं वो settle हो गया, गाड़ी भी आ गई, घर भी खरीद लिया, family भी है, and they have a salary coming in every month. They're just sorted. This profession, you can have all of those things and still be not considered successful unless you have fame.
Yeah.
Now, fame is not in my hand.
Yeah.
You know, fame is dependent on so many things. I can't, if I say, oh no, tomorrow I want to be famous, I can't go out there and force 1 million people to know about me.
Yeah.
This profession has that extra thing that is not in your hand, you know. So for some people it lands because it's so dependent on distribution systems. I have done like 3-4 independent films, you know. Distribution system doesn't support independent genre that much.
So the reverse is true, right? Many great actors don't have to be on TV if you can get people who just have a big following to be on TV.
On some level, yes.
So the industry has changed and the distribution system is sort of the MyBup.
I wouldn't know much about that because then for that I will have to be around for longer to know what it was like, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that. Yeah. But I do feel that, I mean, there is the OTT revolution has really helped actors like me putting a lot of us on the map
For
and
sure.
putting a lot of, giving a lot of us opportunities, and it's become a very cleaner environment because it's not dependent on a few people running the show. So that distribution, great, digital world, people who are releasing their films on YouTube, people who are doing online film festivals and all of that is great. But the thing is, if you're making films, you want more than 100 people to watch it, right? So if a film is getting maybe 4,000 screens or 1,000 screens, and then there is another film as good, if not better, that is getting 50 screens and just the 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. slot on a weekday when people are working and they can't come and watch your film, then that's not a fair competition. That affects visibility, right? So that, I think, is what is something that I would hope is fixed. And a lot of people are trying alternate distribution networks, but that is something that really creates a big problem.
I have one question around the series Safed Sagar. There is this impression that everything that's very big and glitzy is what gets noticed. One of the nice things about this series, including your own role, has been how simple and small and significant it is. How do you interpret the importance of small in a world obsessed with scale?
I feel like that's something the creators should answer. I mean, Abhijit, Kushal, who are the creators, and Oni, who is the director. Firstly, incredible people in all their storytelling choices, in what they root for, what they stand for. So I think to kind of show the simplicity and show the smaller nuances is a larger choice that they made. Even when I was brought into the Matchbox office, Deepak Agarwal, the casting director, he called me to meet Oni and Abhijit and Kushal. And when I went in to meet them, they said that, look, for every hero to land, we need the world around him to land, right? And they were so focused on showing that world. He said, your responsibility is to be a part of that world. That the combat is not just at the borders, right? So that intention was always there. And it's a very encouraging thing, honestly, because I really feel that a lot of people should be doing this, because the kind of love I'm getting, the kind of messages I'm getting, people are connecting. We assume that the audience will not connect with the small things, but that's not true. People connect on a very, very micro level, they connect. So yeah, I think the creators they get full credit for this.
So when this series clearly was apparent to you that it's a hit, what did you look at the Amrita in the mirror and say?
Oh, I haven't done that actually.
Theoretically, you must have thought it.
No, I mean, when it happened, the first thing in my head is that, so I had uninstalled Instagram from my phone. How can I say Instagram? And social media from my phone. Wow. Because in general, it's not something I feel like, just, I was not reading, I was not spending time with myself.
Pretty sure after the series, so that thought has gone out.
I had to just bring it back,
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, okay, we're doing this now. So that's great. And after that, I just felt, theoretically, now that you say, I did feel very validated. I did feel that patience pays off. And I think the first thing I thought is that every time somebody comes to me and says, ki ye nahi ho raha, I now have actual evidence to tell them that hoga. Just don't mess it up. Hoga. And please find other avenues to give you validation and joy. Do not depend on one thing. That's not fair to the thing also. It's not fair if I put the entire burden of my happiness on one profession,
What was the vanity validation?
Vanity validation was, when people are praising, oh, you're looking really pretty, you look so nice, and things like that. So that...
Yeah, you looked stunning on that Kapil Sharma show. I wasn't I wasn't listening to much, but you really did look lovely.
Thank you. I found this amazing designer called Saurav Das. He makes the most amazing saris, and he goes through actually museum textiles. Nice. And he kind of recreates the weaves. So he kind of got this Raja Ravi Verma painting of the Gaikwar queens.
Yeah.
And he wanted to recreate that. I said, go for it.
Glad I didn't know that before, because then I would have thought of Raja Verma before I would have thought of you. But very good. I want to come back a little bit and talk about money. Is there a number that Amrita chases in life?
Not a number, but a place.
Okay, tell us, we're listening.
Well, I hope the universe is listening. But I feel that money is freedom. Okay? I mean, enough money gives you a lot of freedom to do certain things. If I could be at a place where I wake up the next morning and I think that, okay, I can take this year off, in comfort, and I'm not saying that that's what we need. I'm not questioning, anybody who does not choose that. But I'm saying that in comfort, to be able to travel the way I want, to be able to eat and love and move around the way I want, and not have to chase a goal for one full year, I think that's a good place to be in.
I often say that money is the power to say no. What is the one thing Amrita would say no to when she has that number in her?
I would most definitely say no if someone asked me to lie about something, whether professionally or personally. If I had to be a version of myself that is not me, I think that would definitely be no. Because then money is of no help. Then that money will only amplify the lie, because then you will have to chase more money to and therefore chase the lie. So I feel it's something I would definitely say no to.
I asked Dia this question. Have you ever had to say no to a job to have to do with your face, your nose, your lips, your teeth, your eyebrows, your hair, I don't know, whatever else?
Yeah, I've been asked to close the gap in my teeth and get like pull your face up and things like that. I've been asked, and mostly men.
I love people with gap in their teeth. There's something distinct about it.
Thank you.
I'm like, at least their smile is different than all of ours.
Thank you. But I didn't do it. I didn't want to do it. It's always told that, you'll get more work if you do.
Yeah.
And earlier I used to think like, maybe I should figure it out. But then I thought that, but are those the kind of people I want to work with? Because today it's teeth. Tomorrow it's going to be something else. This is a never-ending process. I'm not against people who get procedures. If you want it, if it's something that helps you become more confident, go for it. I don't know what the future holds for me, right? But at the moment, I feel like it has to be my decision. The moment an external person comes and tells me, fix that about yourself, I don't want to do it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. This is not a rapid fire, but I would say this is the Rulebreaker set of questions. On a set, who protects women? The AD, the floor manager, the light in charge, another actor, director, who?
Women protect women. I mean, and of course, if you have a great director and team, then they all add into it. But I've always seen women rooting for each other on a set.
What is the green flag that you've seen in another actress that has really helped you in your journey?
Oh, I must mention Dia. I mean, immense amounts of empathy in that woman. Sometimes I'm like, how, even in these circumstances, how are you still so kind? It's who she is, the choices she makes, her environmental choices, how she sticks to it, despite the circumstance. It's so commendable. Like, I always think that I hope I get a modicum of that empathy and kindness. And I'm not saying this superficially. She has really shaken me with the person she is.
Yeah, she's lovely. She's
amazing.
Been on that seat a few times. But I'm going to flip this. What is the disguise like? There are lots of women, and we spoke about patriarchy earlier, who'll be there, seem like allies, but quite not be the allies. What does that act look like?
That act, I feel, looks like patriarchy only. I mean, if I have no other word for it, because it's always a gaze thing, right? Oh my God, is she being perceived that way? I need to change that perception. Oh my God, is she really saying these lines? Okay, let me not give her the cues. It's just stupid things like that, small things like that. It's a perception problem because everybody is catering to a certain gaze, right? A certain perception. And the moment someone's perception seems to be better than the perception that you're getting, you want to go and kill that gaze. You want to change that. I think that's what it's mostly been in my experience, where people have just tried to change opinion about me or change perception about me. That has been my limited experience.
Have you ever felt that you were the problem?
Yeah, many times.
Talk to us.
sometimes when I feel like, we are all born with certain inherent habits and nature versus nurture, right? We all think certain ways. And sometimes I feel that, I in my head thought I was being assertive. But when I get some distance, I'm like, no, I was actually being very unkind. That being assertive does not mean that I have to do it without empathy, without understanding. So I have faltered on that account many times.
Great. Thank you for the candor. Short answers only. If you were to take one thing away from men for 1 year, what would you pick?
Physically? I would love for them to go through periods, man. I mean, take away the ability of just walking around so easily.
What do men get away that a woman would be fired for?
Everything? There's so much they get away with. Okay, for one, I don't know, there's so much that... Looks.
I wanted that silence to hang after that.
No, I get it, yeah.
The most expensive thing that you would have to give up for which men get paid? Give up for free and men get paid. Yeah.
Not being there for family.
Very nice. Ozempic and Bollywood.
I have no experience of it, Firstly, I always feel that I'm still on the fringes of Bollywood, so to speak, in a way. And Ozempic is just something I've heard, but it's a thing. Apparently, people are taking it, but I have had no experience or understanding of it. It's apparently it started out as a diabetes control thing and then became something. I'm not sure about that.
It's a reality, though.
Yeah, I've been hearing. It's quite sad. Again, who is making you do it? There are contracts. I have seen contracts which says that the studio bosses, if they ask you to change something about your face, you have to do it. There are studios that have contracts like that. So,
wow.
I think the women get targeted for choices that they are not making. Some are, but some are not.
Just out of curiosity, do men are men asked to get a job done?
Men can answer that. I mean, I have never seen it, but I'm sure there are many aspects of the male experience in Bollywood that I would not know about.
Yeah.
I don't want to I wouldn't want to generalize.
But I guess for a lot of those things, there are stuntmen.
Yeah, that is true. Oh my God, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just a couple of last things. A woman is a woman's best friend when she...
Too many good women in my life. When she feeds you when you need it and scolds you when you need it, I feel.
Okay, great. There's an area of discussion I didn't have, and I want to. You're a woman who's already above 40, and this is the film industry. And we are all, obviously, as women in our 40s, pretty badass. We look good. We want to be wonderful and do everything we want to. How do you keep up with your health in this?
I'm really working on it, I have realized that if I don't really invest in my health, then that's a larger cost to pay, not just for appearance purposes, but also for mental health purposes. Mm-hmm. So I really think that working out or just, moving every day is very important for my mental health. And because also sometimes as a writer, I'm static for a very long period of time. Not when I'm acting, but when I'm writing. Sometimes it just means like 16 hours of sitting, right? So moving is very important to me. Just eating a wholesome diet is very important to me. Enjoying and laughing with my friends is very important to me. Spending time with my husband. Just that time that reminds you of who you were, who you are, is very important to me. I think like if mental health is sorted, some of the physical health follows.
Why do you think women don't think about that too much?
We're not told to prioritize it. We're not asked to prioritize it. We are at a place where laughing loudly is something you have to learn to do when you're growing up. Because normally it's like, "Arey, itna zor se kyun हंसती है? अरे शादी है भाई, नहीं हंसूंगी क्या?" It's so weird. Why were you like speaking so loudly? These are like micro everyday things.
You laugh loudly?
I love laughing loudly, and I have a bass voice, so sometimes when I laugh, it sounds damn scary. Yeah. But yeah, that really helps.
That's great. What did the husband say when he saw?
Safed Sagar.
Yeah.
He loved it. He loved it. He yeah, actually for him, like, you know, it was just that very real experience, because we had the Indian Air Force guiding us, right?
Yeah.
And you know, the role of science in combat, you know, because we are always like fight and testosterone and all of that, but strategy and science and combat is something that this show, I have not seen it in, I mean, I have not seen all of the material that India has made on war, but I have not seen something like this. He loved it.
That's amazing. My one final question: what are the rules Amrita likes to break and why?
I love breaking the fact that people think you should specialize in one thing. I love breaking that. I really enjoy breaking that, and it has only worked out for me. So, but it just means that your working hours kind of double up a bit, and you have to be willing to do the work. But if you have multiple passions, go for it. The world will accommodate it, and it's a new norm, I think. Yeah.
What a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was so much fun.